This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Oakland Athletics.
And the pitch is swung on, hit the right field, hit deep. Whitefield going back at the track, over his head, and over the wall. Do you believe that?
And 29 other MLB clubs.
Ramirez with a drive to deep right, away back, goal!
Jaffe gets a bomb out there by the Rocks. And boy, oh boy, this third inning is now showtime.
It is a Judgian blast. All rise. Here comes the judge.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to spin rates to game-changing moments. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us next from the town, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to A's Cast Live. This is an exciting day. Couple reasons. One, we're actually packing as we speak for San Diego and getting ready for the winter meetings. And you can just tell the buzz. There's already people that are already there. They're camped out, ready to rock, as this thing is really going to start Sunday at 5 o'clock. That is when we're going to find out whether this group of players who didn't get elected on the writers' ballot, now they go to this committee of 16, and can they now get in the Baseball Hall of Fame? This committee, it's like an oversight committee. They're here to decide if the baseball writers, if they missed something, if they didn't get it right. That will be announced at 5 o'clock on Sunday. And then Monday arrives. It's really day 2, but it'll feel like day 1 of the winter meetings, because that's when all the shows and everybody's going to go live, and really everybody, all the front office people are going to be there. The wheelin' and a dealin' will really start on Monday, face-to-face. And, of course, A's Cast Live, we will be there. We're shooting for, Cody, 1 o'clock?
Yeah, 1 o'clock on Monday is our schedule for then. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, we're aiming for 9 to noon and then 2 to 4. So 5 hours of coverage.
Oh, you're working me 2 times a day while I'm in San Diego?
5 hours of coverage on Tuesday, 5 hours of coverage on Wednesday. And we will, think about this, A's Cast. We will, as one show, do more from the winter meetings than probably anybody else. Now, MLB Network goes all day long, but that's multiple shows. Sirius XM, MLB Radio, Channel 89, we love them too. They'll have all their different shows, but we're one show. Nobody will do more content, audio, video, a multimedia platform, as we like to say. No one will do more than us. Yeah, no, it won't come close. And we already have some good guests lined up for Monday's show, Tuesday's show, Wednesday's show. It's going to be a good time while we're down there. I don't want to give away, but we will have Brian Kenny on Monday after the
MLB Now and host of MLB Network.
The manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates, Derek Shelton, will be on. The guys from Cespedes Barbecue will be on. Susan Slusser will be on after she's one of the members of the contemporary ballot, so she can talk about the vote and who gets in or who may not get in, if any of them. So it's going to be interesting on Monday.
Man, we have bigger names than that.
No
offense to them.
No, I was just promoting for Monday.
Oh, okay. Terry Francona,
yeah, well,
the reigning American League Manager of the Year, is going to be on the program.
We're going to have, hopefully, Sam Fold, Bob Melvin.
Former A's player, general manager of the Philadelphia Phillies, who are just in the World Series. I have made contact today with our old skipper, Bob Melvin, and it looks like Bo Mel will join us from San Diego on Wednesday. Billy Bean's going to stop by. David Forrest will stop by. Mark Kotze will stop by.
Happy birthday, Mark Kotze. Kotz's birthday is today. So, yeah, Kotz will be on with us. Billy Owens is going to be down. We'll try to grab him.
Assistant general manager of the Oakland Athletics.
Our good friend Sarah Langs is going to be there in person, who will be coming on with us.
That will be absolutely phenomenal. So we will be jam-packed every day.
Oh, Mad Dog.
Chris Mad Dog Russo, the radio, not like New York Radio Hall of Fame, where we have the San Francisco Bay Area Radio Hall of Fame. He is in the Radio Hall of Fame. That's the big boy. That's impressive.
Paul Hembekides from ESPN is going to be here at 1:30. Jay Jaffe from Fangraphs. He also does Sports Illustrated. What else does he do?
I think he was, those are all things he should, but he's big on the Hall of Fame, so that's why I wanted to get him today.
And he has his jaws for the Hall of Fame. We'll talk about that at 2:30. I didn't plan on starting the show with this. Well, first, let's do this. Ray Fosse taught us so much about the game. And we're redoing the studio. As you've seen, our studio started to change here. And we're going to get We Love You, Ray, back up. We're going to have a fan wall coming up here. We now have multiple cameras. Show them, Cody.
Well, here's the other camera that we have set up that we use for just you for interviews. And
Boom. Put it on.
It is on.
Is it on? They can see me? All right. So we're going to end up having 3 cameras in the studio. So we're going to have the camera that is the full shot. We're going to have a camera in the right-hand corner. We're going to have this camera right here when I'm doing interviews. We're stepping our game up for the 2023 season. And we're going to put all the jerseys back up. We're going to have a fan wall off here to the left. We're going to have UA's fans send us stuff. Hopefully kids send us a lot of stuff that we can put on our fan wall. So a lot's going to be going on here with our studio as we continue to grow and step up our game for the 2023 season. But one thing that Ray Fosse taught us was how great Gaylord Perry was. And Gaylord Perry, I got to see him as a really young kid growing up in San Diego, going to Padre games, of course, was the 1978 National League Cy Young Award winner. I was 6. So you're talking about like when I'm 6, 7 years old. I remember he was a big deal. I don't really remember all that much. I do recall. And obviously in the Bay Area, starred for the San Francisco Giants. So many great years with the Giants, Cleveland. And, Ray taught us about the greatness of Gaylord Perry. He and his brother's Jim, right?
Let me double check. I don't want to say yes.
He and his brother, 2 brothers, pitched Major League Baseball. 2 brothers. His brother also won a Cy Young, right? Jim Perry.
Yeah.
He won a Cy Young, right?
Let's just double check. He won the Cy Young, 2-time Cy Young Award. No, it went to Gaylord. I clicked on Jim, though.
All right, well, you're researching.
Yeah, he did win a Cy Young. He won the Cy Young in 19. I want to say it was 1970. 1970 at age 34 with the Twins.
I mean, 2 brothers grew up on a farm. Both won Cy Young Awards. I mean, they're the greatest duo of brothers. And Fosse always told us great stories about Gaylord. But the one thing Gaylord did not want to have happen, did not want it, that was the bullpen coming in. Gaylord Perry despised the bullpen. He would, in his southern drawl, tell the manager, "Partner, the guys down there are not as good as the guy up here," talking about himself. Gaylord Perry was an absolute machine with the amount of innings that he threw. It's crazy. A 90 WAR, 314 wins. Wasn't even a first ballot Hall of Famer. Shows you how crazy the writers are. Took him 3 tries. 314 wins, and the innings, 5,350. Like we look at a war horse now is Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer's not even at 3,000. This guy threw over 5,000 innings. He was throwing over 300 innings a year. We can't even get guys to go 200. And sad he passed away. Played for the Giants, Guardians, Rangers, Padres, Yankees, Braves, Mariners, and Royals. And I know he was a very good friend of Ray Fosse. So we just want to tip our cap to the big right-hander, truly one of the greats to have ever played. And you think of those Giants teams where they were always overshadowed by the Dodgers or the Cardinals. When you have Marichal, I mean, that's one of your pitchers going on with Gaylord Perry, 2 Hall of Famers, Mays, McCovey. I mean, Cepeda. He played on some good teams, but never went to the playoffs because the way the playoffs were structured back then wasn't like today. If Gaylord would have played in today's era, he would have been in the playoffs all the time. But back then it was much tougher. I think he only played the playoffs. Check it. Was it one time? Sorry, still dealing with my cold.
Let me pull it up. I'll see how many. We'll see what it's.
Not coronavirus, by the way. Do you know the flu's back after 2 years of being gone? Funny how that works. Did you hear about that?
Well, I know a lot of people have been sick the last few weeks.
The flu's back, folks.
He pitched in the postseason one time, and it was in 1971.
1970. Who's he with? Giants?
The Giants. He pitched against the Pittsburgh Pirates.
1971. I wasn't even born yet. So we want to tip our cap to the great Patna. And Ray Fosse had some of the greatest stories about Gaylord Perry as we lost truly one of the great pitchers and really artists, right? Because he didn't always have the Vaseline or, you put snot on the ball. He didn't always have the spitball going, but he just always made you think he was doing something. Sometimes he did, sometimes he didn't. Threw hard. He was big, lanky. And, I mean, this guy ended up on all the talk shows. Man, he was going on Johnny Carson. I mean, he was an entertainer, the great Gaylord Perry. So, but I want to get into this because it's crazy. We had everybody here, right? Ray the Karate Kid was here. D.A., our boss, was here. Cody was here as we're working on the new studio and then preparing all the gear to take to San Diego for the winter meetings. Isn't it funny how different the winter meetings is for A's Cast? Last time we went down there, we were just an audio show.
It was just us.
Didn't really have to bring much anything. Now we got all this equipment and everything that we're bringing. You're going to get everything, not only audio, but you'll get it video. So all these great names and people you're now going to see.
And you'll be unveiled to our brand new 10-foot high banner that we have for remote broadcast.
I haven't even seen it yet myself. Supposedly behind us will be behind us now is Rickey Henderson Field. It's the Coliseum, but behind us is going to be this big A's Cast
banner that's green
wall behind us
with two logos on it. Ray and I set it up. The Karate Kid, he'll be in San Diego with us. We set it up. It was so big that Ray had to stand on a balcony just for us to flip the backdrop over the poles. That's how big it is.
Love it. So I had to take the dog. While all these guys are at my house, my wife, of course, I've taken the dog to go get groomed. So I take the dog to go get groomed. It was literally down the street from my house. On the way back, I'm listening to great San Jose State Spartan. Kevin Franzen's filling in today on Loudouts on Sirius XM. It's, it is funny how I talk to all my old buddies in terrestrial radio and they go, yeah, did you hear my shit? No. If you're not Sirius XM, I don't hear you. I either listen to MLB or the NFL channel. That's what's great about Sirius XM. You don't have to deal with all the different garbage that you get with terrestrial radio that I hate to crap on because I came up in terrestrial radio and I worked on terrestrial radio for 25 or so years. But I was listening to CJ Nikowski, former big league pitcher, now broadcaster TV for the Texas Rangers. He comes on this show. Recently just had him on. Maybe we see him down there at the winter meetings.
Yeah, hopefully. I don't care if he was on the list, but we did have him on recently.
I mean, we'll see everybody down there. But he just said something, blew me away. I literally dropped the dog off, get in my car, I'm heading back, and he says, and I don't know who his source is, could be, did he ever play? He might have played with Scherzer in Detroit.
Let's see if they cross paths. I mean, CJ played for a while, and they also played overseas.
But CJ played for 8,000 teams, but I'd say they probably...
No, CJ's out of the league. His last year was 2005. Scherzer wasn't even in the league yet.
Okay, there you go. But he's got some source. When talking about Verlander playing for the Dodgers, he brought up today, and it's a point that, we've harped on over and over and over again, like this new model that the Dodgers have doesn't work long term. And they're doing it in their minor leagues. They're doing it in their big leagues. How did it work for them in the postseason? Once again, it didn't. Babying, I'm not saying him babying anymore. They don't want their starters to pitch. And you might go, well, how the hell do you guys know? Okay, yeah, that's a fair point. We're not in LA. But CJ Nikowski just said, what time did I drop the dog off?
12 something. 12.
So about 12:45 on Sirius XM, he came out and said Max Scherzer hated pitching for the Dodgers. Remember, Scherzer was traded with Trey Turner to Los Angeles from Washington to help the Dodgers win the World Series. And you thought, wow, Mad Max going to L.A.? Last time I checked, L.A.'s got a lot of money, right?
Oh, yeah, they have a big payroll.
They got a big payroll. Like, why wouldn't Mad Max stay in L.A.? Because he didn't like it. They tried to limit everything about him. He is a guy that likes to work. Hard to believe, right? A Major League Baseball player who wants to play and wants to play as much as possible. The fact that I'm even saying that to you on this show right now sounds effing ridiculous, right? And I hate to do the effing, but it's dramatic. Like, he wants to play. He's a pitcher. He wants to get the ball every 5 days, and he wants to compete like hell. It's what he loves. It's his passion. It's what he lives for. Every day he wakes up, he thinks about it. Every day he works out. Every day it's about getting better. Max Scherzer is a true professional. And he went to L.A., and they, according to CJ, they limited him on game day. They limited him in his workouts, and he hated it. So what did he do?
Signed with the Mets.
He said, get me out of here.
Actually signed the largest deal ever for a AAV for a pitcher.
So now it makes me think, because I thought Verlander and LA is a perfect fit family-wise. Mama's a supermodel. Mama's a star. She's a global star. And she appears in everything from television shows, movies. She's Kate Upton. She is a global star. They have a house in Los Angeles. They have a beautiful daughter that we got to see when Verlander won the American League Cy Young, as his daughter joined him after he won it. And I said on this program that girl is not going to grow up in Houston. She will grow up in Los Angeles. I would Buster only bet the farm on that one if I had a farm.
Actually, we found out he doesn't have the farm anymore.
Don't. I'd bet the farm. So I thought LA is perfect fit, right? He needs to go somewhere where he's got to win games, because his whole goal now is he wants to get to 300 wins. He wants to get paid a lot, and he deserves it, right? He's not going to sign for $10 million. Whatever he gets, he's earned. But he wants years because he thinks, let's face it, he goes to the right team. Could he win 20 games? He's got the new arm. Tommy John still has what he's got. Is he as good as he was data-wise when he was with the Tigers in his prime? Probably not. But he's still pretty close, or pretty damn good. If he signs with the right team, is it a stretch to say in 3 years he could amass enough to get him 300 wins?
No, not at all. He's at 244, so he needs to average somewhere around like 15 wins for the next 5 years, and he'd get there.
Not in 3 years.
Oh, 3 years. So yeah, if he got around 20 every year, yeah, he'd be there easily.
Just do the math.
Yeah, 3 years in LA. If
LA's winning 106 to 111 every year, they've been over 100 every year. You're starting every 5 days. You pretty much stay healthy. You got a chance to win at least 17, 18 games a year, if not more. And hence, he gets to 300 wins.
If that the caveat is that they let him go 5 innings every start.
Well, you're jumping the gun here. That's why I was like, I think LA's got to be the front runner.
Oh, for sure. Sorry, I even turned my sound off so it didn't go off.
So I thought LA would be the front runner. He did everything he needed to do in Houston. He got 2 titles, got the awards. Now, to me, I think people like getting away from the stench that is the Astros. I think you just, great. Thanks for everything, guys. We won again. Love y'all. See you later. I don't think, even though they won again, I would bet if you pulled George Springer aside, I bet if you pulled Garrett Cole. Correa, I bet, would be bitter because they won without him, and his replacement was the ALCS and World Series MVP. I think that's a different story, but I think just getting away from that, I don't think guys are going to be like, yeah, it would have been nice to get another ring, but I'm even though Cole didn't get a ring, I get that, but I'm just I getting away from the Astros probably for a lot of guys is they're cool with that. So Verlander seemed like a total fit. And then one of the reasons why I'm starting with this is there is a belief, and I kind of agree with it, as we're going to give you our big, bad, bold predictions about the winter meetings. A lot of people believe Aaron Judge is not signing. We will not have, we will show you with our cameras, the Yes Network. You know, we're coming with lights and cameras and everything. They bring an actual Yes Network set. We'll have a table. They have a full-on, they ship out a Yes Network TV set. They have their own television set. Cameras, the whole thing. We got cool cameras. They have the full-on, long, big cameras that you see when you're watching games, and they pan over and show a guy, you know, the camera guy down the right field line. They've got, you know, they rent them out from whatever company in San Diego. They're putting on a full-on production. We'll show you that. I don't think that production gets heated up like it did when we were there in 2019 and Garrett Cole signed and the place went bananas as he signed that record deal. I don't think that's going to happen. And then you wonder, okay, what's next? Well, the next thing is the shortstops. And they might all haggle around, and none of the shortstops sign. And then you got Contreras.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably going to wait for the shortstops to kind of set the market. I don't know. I mean, this might be all about starting pitchers. This might be the winter meetings of the starting pitchers, where you hang your hat like, I can't remember. Where were the meetings when Albert Pujols signed? Was that in Nashville? At the Grand, not the Grand Old Opry, but what's the Opryland, or what's that big convention center they got there in Nashville?
I don't know the answer to that, but it was 2012, so it seems like it would have been Nashville.
Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like Opryland or something like that. It's like this huge. I've never been there.
Well, let me see what I can.
But it's all about the big players and the big names, and once one guy signs, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think what's going to happen,
the Grand Old Opry.
Grand Old Opry. It's a massive, supposedly just massive.
Oh, do you want some breaking news real quick? According to Joel Sherman, the Brewers and Mariners are finalizing a deal that will send Jesse Winker and Abraham Toro to Milwaukee for Colton Wong. So Mariners get Wong, Brewers would get Winker and Abraham Toro, the infielder they got from the Astros a few years ago.
I actually really like that deal for the Brewers, because Winker in a small ballpark in hitting conditions like we saw in Cincinnati puts up numbers.
Mm-hmm.
That's not Seattle.
Not at all, no.
Seattle is a beautiful ballpark, might be the best ballpark in baseball. Yeah, I said it. No, it's not. It's Pac-Bell, SBC.
No, it's not.
AT&T. How many names has it been now?
A bunch. The best ballpark in baseball is in Pittsburgh with that lousy team. But they're a great ballpark.
I'm not saying I think I'll call it Safeco. You call it T-Mobile, right?
T-Mobile is. I love that ballpark.
I'll call it Safeco. I'll be a dinosaur and call it Safe.
I went there when it was Safeco.
I would probably still say Seattle's the best ballpark I've ever been.
Oh,
Seattle's awesome.
I thought you were going to say.
And when the roof's open, oh man, it's great.
A lot of people really like Miller Park too, or American Family Insurance Field.
It's cold because it's open, and it's not the most hitter-friendly place. I think Jesse Winker going to Milwaukee, which is a very hitter-friendly place, that's a good deal for them. They had some thump because they lost what's-his-name to Anaheim.
Oh, Renfroe?
Yeah, they just lost Renfroe. So they got a little pump. You can have Colton Wong.
Well, according to Joel Sherman, he's due to make $10 million in 2023. Winker's due to make 8.25, and Abraham Toro's arbitration eligible.
So back to the thing about the winter meetings. I believe this will be about pitchers. I think pitchers are going to get what they want, especially starters. They're going to get what they want, And they're going to not only get the years, they may get an extra year. I mean, you might have someone like Chris Bassett, our old Chris Bassett, signing for 5 instead of 4, 3 or 4, maybe getting 5. Verlander getting 3. DeGrom getting 4 instead of 3. You might have starting pitcher, and just one of them has to go, and the floodgates go on pitching. It's like I would compare it to Cody's fantasy football draft kicker panic or defense panic. Once one kicker goes, kickers start going. Once someone takes a defense, guys start taking defenses. One pitcher goes, and I don't know, Rodon, DeGrom, Verlander, one of them goes, and it just starts flooding starting pitchers.
Well, you're telling me the Zach Eflin deal wasn't the one that's going to open the floodgates?
That's not. The biggest deal in Rays history. Blah, 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 blah.
3 for 40, 13.3 annually. Bob Nightingale's reporting also the Brewers also plan to keep shortstop Willie Thomas. Yeah, we'll see.
Because that would make it 5 shortstops on the market.
Yeah, him through trade and the other 4 guys free agents. Obviously.
I mean, that would be 5 legit guys on the market. All right, coming up next, Paul Hembekides, Hembo, from the ESPN Morning Show. Get up. If you're up early, you watch the show. He's kind of feeling the way I'm feeling about Sunday. Sunday's a big day. Sunday is going to set what we lead the show off with on Monday. We'll talk about it next right here on A's Cast Live.
The Coliseum has gone by many names, but none better than the Last Dive Bar. Hi, everyone. Ken Korak here, and my friends at Last Dive Bar are helping us celebrate our longtime home. Last Dive Bar has the most unique merchandise for all Oakland baseball fans. T-shirts, sweatshirts, the Ray Fosse line, and my personal favorite, the lights have taken full effect. Visit their website at lastdivebar.com or follow them on social media at Last Dive Bar. All proceeds are invested back into the A's Community Fund and their affiliated charities. Go to lastdivebar.com. That's lastdivebar.com.
The Oakland Athletics begin spring training on February 25th. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine with your family and friends. Buy your tickets early for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Giants, Dodgers, Padres, Angels, and more at Hohokam Stadium.
And Tony, it's a deep drive to right in the corner. Gritchick going back. He'll turn and watch it fly.
Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
The winter meetings start Monday, and A's Cast has you covered. Join Chris Townsend as A's Cast Live will be broadcasting from the Manchester Grand Hyatt in San Diego. Stay up to date on all things green and gold and around Major League Baseball with all major signings. And hear from the biggest names in the sport, such as David Forst, Mark Kotze, Terry Francona, Mad Dog Chris Russo, Sarah Langs, and more. Coverage starts Monday at 1 p.m. on A's Cast, and you can watch the show live. Visit youtube.com/athletics or on Twitter at athleticscast24.
This is Chris Townsend for the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. Great news! Our indoor dining is back, along with our beautiful patio dining. Come taste our world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 83 years. The Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek has one of the most dynamic menus, plus a full bar. Pot pies, gourmet burgers, sandwiches, salads, flatbreads, and more. Don't forget, we still do takeout and delivery. For all the information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
Senior writer for MLB Pipeline Jim Callis stopped by A's Cast Live and discussed the prospects he likes in the A's farm system.
I like Ken Waldichuk. I think he's a little unheralded. I think Tyler Soder, like Shea Langoliers got there this year. I really like Shea Langoliers. I think having Shea Langoliers makes it easier to let Tyler Soderstrom do what he does best, which is hit. And it's always tough when you have a really offensive-minded catcher like Tyler was, where if you catch him, it detracts from his hitting because of the time you have to devote to catching and then the physical toll. So I think they're going to get more out of Tyler Soderstrom's bat.
To listen to the full interview and much more, go to athletics.com/A'sCast.
Humanity has accomplished a whole lot so far. We created penicillin, the automobile, and the internet, not to mention drones, duct tape, and the hot dog. It's all thanks to the power of human connections. And Ring Central's here to make that even easier. more seamlessly and securely on a platform built to grow your business. Say hello to a whole new way to say hello. Visit ringcentral.com and say hello to possibilities. RingCentral. Message, video, phone, together.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is a national brand with family-owned prices and service. You can shop at one of their Barrie locations, and all stores are sanitized and safe, or you can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Green and Gold fans, use the coupon code Oakland and you'll get 10% off your entire order. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
A's Cast Live continues from the town. Here's Chris Townsend.
Oh, we wanted to show Hembo our new toys that we got going here on A's Cast Live. All right, Hembo, a lot has changed. So we got the new background of the Coliseum behind us, Ricky Henderson Field. We got
goodness.
We got multiple cameras. Do the other camera angle. We got multiple cameras going now.
I mean, 2 of you is too many of you.
I mean, come on. It doesn't get any better.
What a professional operation. You guys are the best.
After the winter meetings.
Say that one more time, babe. I just lost your audio for like 10 seconds there as you were, it looks like filling me in on the beauties of your new studio.
We will be adding a third camera. Right now we're at 2. We're adding a third one after the winter meetings in San Diego.
Are you getting more people, or is one of you just putting on too much weight for the 2 camera situation? Like, how does this work? Look, I heard your boy Cody. Cody's doing like the professional live reads now. He's doing all the important stuff. That's what Greeny always says. Like Greeny just says, like, look, do all the sports you want, but you got to make sure you do all the reads. And Cody sounds like he's doing all the reads like a friggin' champ.
How is everything going lifestyle-wise for you? Morning show, got to get up really early. Great to see you on ESPN, and then have baby twins.
It's a lot. Honestly, this is I don't remember like the last 3 months of my life, and I'm not going to remember having this exact conversation with you at this exact time, because I'm just so sleep deprived always that like just to be able to get do the fundamentals, it requires like so much energy and effort. But like it's a good like I don't know the best way to describe it, but like I guess before, like everything that happened in my life was between like a 4 and a 6. Like everything, like the worst that could possibly happen was only so bad. Like the best thing was like a 6, right? Now it's like 1,000,000 to 1. Like the variance is just exploded, right?
Yeah.
So it's life has so much more layer and so much more satisfaction, but obviously so much more responsibility. So I have taken to it fairly well. My wife is an absolute champ. Like she's done a lot of the heavy lifting at night since I wake up in the middle of the night to go into New York City and do the shows. But we're doing great over here. I'm still managing to keep my smoke schedule on the Traeger on the weekends, which is obviously exceedingly important. And we're doing the best we can. But honestly, like this is going to be a large chunk of my life that I mostly forget.
So on Sunday at 5 o'clock, we're going to see who of this group of players that are now on this new ballot to get into the Hall of Fame. They didn't get in by the baseball writers, so now it's like an oversight committee trying to right the wrongs of the baseball writers. We'll see. I know there's people who are really rooting for Fred McGriff and Don Mattingly and Dale Murphy. I'm rooting for all 3 of those guys too. Then you got the PED guys, and then Albert Bell, who nobody likes. There's the one guy that I think it is an absolute sham. I think a lot has to do with politics. It has nothing to do with the morality clause, because before he ever got crazy on Twitter, the first time he was on the ballot, this guy was Sunday Night Baseball and he only got 38%. I'm talking about a guy who's got a better ERA plus than Jim Palmer, John Smoltz, and Mike Mussina, all in the Hall of Fame. A career 11-2 in the postseason, was an ace for your Phillies in the postseason. He was the ace for the Diamondbacks and an ace for the Red Sox in all these World Series. He was one of the greatest big game pitchers we have ever seen. There is no argument other than his political beliefs of why he is not in the Baseball Hall of Fame. If Curt Schilling does not go, if we arrive in San Diego on Monday and he's not a Baseball Hall of Famer, this 16-man committee of players, executive media people, they've completely gotten it wrong. What do you think?
I think you're 100% right. Curt Schilling, no cogent argument can be made that Curt Schilling does not belong in the Baseball Hall of Fame. You can make one for Barry Bonds. You can make one for Roger Clemens, because you could say, look, their careers were not authentic. And while I would vote for them, you can at least construct the argument. The best you can possibly do for Curt Schilling is, I don't like him. And you know what? I don't like him isn't good enough. You said the exact phrase that I was going to, and that is, he's not among the best. He is the best big game pitcher of my lifetime, and you had some outstanding numbers to back that up. I brought some to the table as well. He has started 5 postseason games in which his team faced elimination. They won all 5. And in those games, he had a 1.37 ERA and averaged 8 innings on 112 pitches. 5 for 5, right? His career postseason record, which you said was 11-2, it's the best mark among all pitchers to start at least 10 such games. 19 postseason starts in total. He allowed 1 earned run or fewer. 1 earned run or fewer in 12 of those 19 starts. He threw a 147-pitch shutout in Game 5 of the 93 World Series. It remains the most recent World Series shutout in an elimination game. 2001, right, with Arizona. 56 strikeouts across that postseason. No one else has ever had 50 strikeouts in a single postseason. World Series co-MVP. He allowed 4 runs across 3 starts in that series. 2 of them came on short rest. And then in 2004, he became the only pitcher in history to win a World Series game with 3 different teams, the Phillies, the Diamondbacks, and the Red Sox. By the way, that guy has 3,100 strikeouts in the regular season. If you don't think Curt Schilling is a Hall of Famer, right, you watched a different pitcher than I did, and you didn't hear all of those ridiculous notes that demonstrate that not only was he obviously a brilliant regular season pitcher and probably deserving of going in the Hall of Fame had he never thrown a single pitch in the playoffs, but his postseason resume is absolutely beyond reproach.
I would like to take that and question what you just said and play that to every person who's a baseball writer. So over 35% never voted for him. At his height, at the last year 8-9, he got 70-something. Curt Schilling hasn't been arrested. He hasn't been charged. We're not talking about domestic violence, child abuse, drug abuse, none of that. When you start talking about the moral clause, because you don't have an argument against his career. This is where the Hall of Fame, like you could have, like you said, you could have an argument against Bonds and Clemens and PEDs. And you don't have an argument. I'm not a political person, and I don't care what your politics are. But if people are not voting for a player because of his politics, and because there's proof that before he did some nutty stuff on Twitter, whatever he did, and you don't like what he did on Twitter, still that doesn't seem you shouldn't vote for him. I mean, baseball really needs if there was one case to look into, like, how are we really electing these guys? Because if you're not electing him because of how you feel about, what he says on Twitter, his political beliefs, man, we got a problem here. I mean, he should be, the moral clause, he hasn't been arrested. He hasn't, you just spelled it out. He should be a Baseball Hall of Famer. If he's not getting in, man, what is future voting really going to be like?
Yeah. And Curt Schilling is a perfect example of how people are complicated. Obviously, Curt Schilling has not exactly wrapped himself in glory since he retired in his personal life. I don't condone literally any of the things that he has said or done, and those are largely the reason that he's excluded from the Hall of Fame. But when I said people are complicated, here's what I mean by that. Major League Baseball has 4 awards that you might call integrity awards: the Branch Rickey, the Roberto Clemente, the Lou Gehrig, and the Hutch Award. There are 4 such awards, okay? Curt Schilling won all 4. Curt Schilling has raised millions of dollars for ALS. He has worked tirelessly to support our veterans. Like, what I'm saying is, people are complicated. And on one hand, what Curt Schilling has done post-career is vile and awful, and I hate every part of it, as any reasonable person does and should. But people are complicated, man. Kurt Schilling was once considered someone so beyond reproach as a person that he won all of those awards. So you have to explain to me how all these things that he's done since he retired should have any impact on whether or not he belongs in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Again, I'm not condoning it, but if you're going to use the character clause against Kurt Schilling based upon those few things, then I think you have a Hall of Fame filled with like half a dozen people.
I think a great one is, and I think he's and from your area, you might be a little young, but you know how great he is. I don't think there's a better player ever in the National Football League than Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor is the greatest football player of all time. A lot of people believe that, including Bill Belichick, who coached him and was his defensive coordinator. He's said it many times. There's no one like Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor, his greatness, if you said that of a baseball player, Lawrence Taylor couldn't get into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Right. Absolutely. And baseball is the only sport that ostracizes its best players, that ostracizes its players for whom we sort of selectively decide what matters and what doesn't. How could we have a Hall of Fame without Kurt Schilling that includes Cap Anson, who erected the color barrier, for God's sake? Like, we can't have this kind of double standard. Like, I understand when it comes to the steroid guys, we can at least use the argument that their careers were not authentic and thus we can't put them in. I don't agree with it, but that's a reasonable argument to make. But if we're going to start dissecting morality in this way, it's not an exercise for which I'm comfortable. And frankly, it's not an argument for which you can win when it comes to Kurt Schilling, based on all the things, the positive things that I detailed on the right side of his ledger, if you will. So by no means should he be disqualified for those things. I think his playing career is obviously such that he is an obvious Hall of Famer. And before we move on to a different topic, I'm going to ask you a quick trivia question, right? Because I had this list up. Kurt Schilling had 300 strikeout seasons in the National League. Only two other guys did that. Who are the only two other pitchers with at least 300 strikeout seasons in the National League?
Well, I mean, Nolan Ryan in Houston, but I don't know if he did it 3 times. I would think lefty Steve Carlton.
No, Steve Carlton is not on that list.
So Ryan and Carlton are not on the list. Pedro?
Ryan's biggest strikeout seasons were in Anaheim. Pedro's not correct. I'll give you one of it. One was his contemporary, a direct contemporary, and the other is one of the greatest legends in the history of the
Tom Seaver.
No, that's a little closer to the right era though for one of these guys. Both of them lefties.
Both of them lefties? 300 strikeouts a year?
Randy Johnson.
Randy Johnson did it 4 times.
Oh, with the D-backs. Yeah.
Sandy Koufax.
And the other is Sandy Koufax. I'm looking at a list right here with Randy Johnson, Kurt Schilling, and Sandy Koufax on it. And Kurt Schilling can't, and that comprises the entire list. And Kurt Schilling can't crack the Hall of Fame.
No. And oh, by the way, ERA plus with all the analytics geeks love, better than Smoltz, better than Jim Palmer, and better than Mike Mussina.
Okay, so I think the best way, dude, you don't have to convince me. The best way to describe Kurt Schilling, and the reason he's not in the Hall of Fame, the quote was given to us by former Phillies GM Ed Wade. And what he said of Kurt Schilling, and I'll clean this up a little bit for your audience, is he's a horse every 5th day, and a horse is behind the other 4. And those other 4 days are why he ain't in the Hall of Fame.
And that's some guys, I think it's Jeff Kent. Jeff Kent was no day at the beach, but you wanted him in your lineup every day. I mean, there's certain players, they're not the most friendly. I mean, anytime you play in team sports, you're going to play with guys that you don't necessarily love, but they help you win, and that's what matters. It's about winning games. We're not electing Mary Poppins here. This isn't who's Mary Poppins. We're selecting who are the best players of all time. And if you're and fine, the writers didn't do it, which is horse bleep. But now this committee is supposed to right the wrongs of what if the writers who are basically saying, I don't like your politics, I'm not putting you in, that's a wrong. But this committee is here to right the wrong.
Sometimes I think we sort of over committee, but this is a case in which I think Kurt Schilling absolutely must be righted. And look, the worst argument I've heard of anybody, and I've heard this on multiple occasions, is that some of the writers didn't vote for him because they didn't want to give him a platform on that stage. Like, they were afraid of what he might say. Have we reached a place in our society to where you're afraid to vote for Curt Schilling because you don't want to hear his speech. Like, that's not the point of this thing. Like, that's why, and it pains me to say because I just adore the place. But the Hall of Fame has to have more credibility than that. It just does.
Yeah.
Like, the Hall of Fame needs to be complete, comprised of the people that most belong in it. And if we have writers that are afraid to check a box next to Curt Schilling's name because of a meme he sent once, then those writers shouldn't be eligible to vote. I mean, look, you can make a good faith argument for a lot of guys not deserving to be in. But if you're sort of selectively using the character clause against Curt Schilling, you are missing the forest through the trees.
Yeah, you're as a group coming up with enough no votes to stop free speech.
Did you know a single person, one, that watched the bloody sock game and said to themselves, that guy's not a Hall of Famer? One? Because I don't know one.
How about the 0-1 World Series? Did anybody watch Game 7 against the Yankees? Did anybody watch that playoff run of the Diamondbacks and think, yeah, that guy's not a Hall of Famer?
Not one person. Literally not a person. And then he went on to do incredible things in Boston. Like, you and I see this thing the same way. Like, like we can talk about Don Mattingly and Fred McGriff and all these other like those conversations and debates are fun. This one's kind of black and white for me. And I'll be really, really disappointed if Curt Schilling doesn't get in. And look, this is a guy that blocks me on Twitter. This is a guy who I don't agree with on anything. But Curt Schilling belongs in the Hall of Fame, and of that there is no question.
All right. We're going to have to wait for Judge. I mean, everybody, and I agree. I don't think we're going to be in San Diego, and we'll be next to the Yes Network set. We saw it with Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole signed, the place went nuts. I don't think that happens. This thing's going to draw out. It then goes to, I think this is going to be all about the starting pitchers. I think one of them goes, whether it's DeGrom, Verlander, Rodon, one of them goes, and then here comes Bassett. Here comes, I think it'll be I think we'll be talking a lot about starting pitchers. Position players, shortstops, I don't know if one of them goes. We're hearing Willie Adames now will be off the trading deadline, off the trading block, so take him out of it. It's down to the 4 free agents. I believe you like Correa the best. Do you see any of them signing, and how do you rank them?
Yeah, this one's pretty straightforward to me as well. I understand why we're doing the shortstop market the way we are. Like, the big four, right? It's a good way to do TV, radio, whatever. It's pretty clear to me. Correa and Turner are in a class under themselves at the top of this group. Then Xander Bogaerts is in a tier below, not too far below, and then Dansby Swanson. Without no disrespect to Dansby Swanson, he's just not the player that either of any of those three guys are. He plays good defense. He plays every day. I don't think there's any way he'll be able to continue to replicate the hitting season that he just had. I'll tell you why I like Carlos Correa the most. All right. First of all, and the most obvious data point when you're signing a player to a 9-figure contract is how many prime years am I getting? He's the youngest of the whole group. He's going to play next season at 28 years old. We feel like he's ancient because he's been around for so long and played in all sorts of big games that we've been watching for so long. But he's going to play next year at 28 years old. You're getting a bunch of prime years in his case. Secondly, you're going to let him stay at shortstop the longest amongst these guys. Over the last 5 years, he leads all shortstops in baseball with 50 defensive runs saved. It's good range, and it is a great arm. And if and when that range goes, he can slide over to third base, put on 10 pounds of muscle, and become Manny Machado. I'm confident in that. And that's why a lengthier deal for Correa is something that I would favor. And I also think, and this might surprise you a little bit, there's so much Trey Turner love out there, and Bogaerts to a lesser extent. But he's also got the hitting profile that I like the most. In the case of Bogaerts, Bogaerts has some really pronounced home road splits with the way that he sort of tailored his swing for Fenway Park. Not that he's incapable of sort of shaking out of that, but with a player like him who regularly outperforms his BABIP, I think that he's been slightly a product of Fenway Park, and it will take him a little while to adjust. That concerns me about a player that's already 30 years old or going to get there and will be playing most of his this contract after his prime. In the case of Trey Turner, who's been brilliant, he's probably the best offensive player in this group right now, leads baseball in hits over the last 3 years, but 77 of those are infield hits. I'm not paying for his infield hits because those are going to go. Those aren't going to be there in 3 or 4 or 5 years, right? He's so speed reliant. The batted ball profile.
Hey, we got bigger bases now.
We got bigger bases, yeah, but we're not going to 60 feet bases. So look, I love Trey Turner right now. If I was signing one of these guys to a 3-year, 4-year deal, he's probably number one on my list. He also doesn't have the world's best defensive metrics at shortstop with all that speed, which suggests there's just something a little bit amiss. There is some value in obviously him being able to play the outfield somewhere. I'm not sure how interested he is in doing that. So that being said, my list here to answer your question in an extremely roundabout way is Correa, and then Swanson. But look, Correa had expected WOBA last year that ranked in the 93rd percentile, which means if you blend his contact quality and his plate discipline, like he's top of the food chain. That with plus defense at shortstop for a young kid who obviously is analytically inclined, has played in big games, is used to getting booed, so he's not going to be afraid of being in a big market. I think Carlos Correa is being vastly underrated in this crop of free agents, and Trey Turner, in some sense, a little overinflated for my liking.
All right, let's put our ownership hat on. Let's be billionaires. All right, we had a general manager or a president of baseball operations, Dave Dombrowski, wins us a World Series. We get rid of him. He reemerges, and then he gets the Phillies to the World Series. We hire the guy who's supposedly boy genius down in Tampa, and he's going to come in, and we're going to win, but we're going to spend less, and we're all going to be happy, and the investors are happy, and everybody's happy. Well, we haven't won diddly since Boy Wonder showed up. Mookie Betts, our best player, won a championship with the Los Angeles Dodgers. If your ownership and you lose Bogarts, Peter Gammons is saying that no longer is he, which no Boris client is ever going to say no to any of the 30 teams. That's not how Boris would take. He would take money from a team on Mars, for God's sakes. He's saying no. They're never saying no to anybody if you're a Scott Boras client. But if they lose Xander Bogaerts and your ownership, I mean, what are you really thinking with Chaim Bloom? None of the stuff has come up and worked for you.
It's not obvious to me that the Boston Red Sox have any idea what they're doing right now. So this is my favorite Chaim Bloom stat. All right, so he's been there for 3 years. He's finished last place twice, which is as many times as the Yankees have finished in last place since 1913. Okay, so they're operating from a position of historical disadvantage. Let's connect the dots here and see if you can help me. So far, they've mangled the Xander Bogaerts situation beyond all recognition, and I think it's likely that he leaves based upon that. They have, to date, mangled the Rafael Devers of it all, and every day that goes by that they don't sign him, he's going to cost them more money. It's not obvious to me that they're going to figure that out, although I think they're speculating. They're pushing stuff out there with all their writers that it will happen and a spring training deadline. I'll believe it when I see how they value their own players, right? This is also the same guy that at the trade deadline traded for Tommy Pham, year, which made no sense. Traded for Eric Hosmer, who might well be the worst regular in baseball right now, and is blocking Tristan Casas, who is your best prospect who plays first base. And also, this is a person, if I'm just going to list all the malfeasance here, that thought Trevor Story was worth a 9-figure contract. Trevor Story can't even throw a baseball 80 miles an hour. So when you add up all the things that Chaim Bloom has done since emerging in that position, it's not obvious to me they have any idea what they're doing. And that ALCS run looks like an awfully big fluke to me. Now, I do think that it's worth giving him, in some sense, the benefit of the doubt, because I think the ownership might care a lot more about their soccer team, Liverpool, than they care about the Red Sox, knowing that they're going to fill that stadium no matter what. And even though the fan base is incensed right now, he might just be a puppet of ownership, and it's his job to come and cut costs and win as many baseball games as you can. But if Chaim Bloom is actually this bad on his own merits, it would be a stunning rebuke, right? Because I don't think that he has gotten a thing right since he got there 3 years ago. I think Alex Cora saved him a couple of years ago in the postseason, but he hasn't put together good teams, and they're worse positioned than any of the 5 teams in their division by a long shot. I mean, they finished 5th this year with the Orioles and in a rebuild, and with Toronto and Tampa hardly spending anything. And even coming into the season, people weren't that high on the Yankees. They're operating from a horrible position. I don't know how in the world they're going to get people out next year, and they might lose the face of their franchise, their shortstop, who hasn't done a thing wrong since he's been there for 10 years. I don't have any idea what direction they're going in. Frankly, neither do they.
It's unbelievable. I don't know how much longer he can keep his job. It's just been futility, especially you get rid of Dombrowski and he's back in the World Series. I mean, it is what it is. The 2 big names are 2 old guys, right? It's DeGrom at 35, Verlander at 39. How do you see that shaking out?
I would be, this might surprise you, but I would be way more inclined to give, say, a 3-year deal to Justin Verlander than I would Jacob DeGrom. I mean, Jacob DeGrom is, I think, poised to be the biggest waste of money amongst any of these high-priced free agents. I really do. I mean, look, he's brilliant. Listen. I'm not a hot take artist, but here's what I see. Right? I see a pitcher who, over the last year and a half, since the All-Star break of last year, has gotten 93 outs. Jacob deGrom has thrown 64 innings over the last year and a half. He's 35 years old. He's going to pitch next year at 35. Like, this is not a young person. Like, he's been around forever. But there's a decent amount of, like, wear and tear there, despite the fact that he's hardly pitched at all lately. That would really concern me. And look, coming into this year, I said, like, this guy, when he's at his best, is the best pitcher I've seen with my own two eyes since Pedro Martinez in the late 90s. Like, Jacob deGrom, like, throws sim games against big leaguers sitting 100 on the corners. He's completely unhittable. He's impossible. But he never pitches. Like, the guy literally never pitches. His arm's made of glass. He's going to end up some team's going to waste a lot of money on Jacob deGrom. I'm so leery of such a thing. And the only teams that should be willing to give him what he probably will garner are teams that can afford or like absorb the risk. Like the Dodgers, for example, who, like, if he winds up throwing 80 innings over the next 3 years, can still win, just like we saw with them with Trevor Bauer. Like, they were able to get over it, right? But a team that, like, almost any other team, right, that's going to rely on Jacob deGrom to get them, I don't know, to throw 500 innings over the next 3 years, you're not getting 500 innings from that guy. Jacob deGrom is a boutique piece. Like, he's a Christmas ornament. Meanwhile, Justin Verlander is a freaking ox. Like, that guy just won the Cy Young, essentially like a rehab year. Like, he just got cut open. And this guy has a new elbow now. His arm is fast as ever. Last year, Justin Verlander struck out 185 guys and allowed 151 base runners. It is a preposterous ratio. He's the best, like inning for inning.
At 39.
At 39, coming off a Tommy John. He went 18-4 with a 1.75. Like, he's an absolute, like, he is a freaking first ballot. Like, calling him our version of Nolan Ryan is an insult to Justin Verlander, candidly. He is an absolute stud who I'm confident is going to get to 300 wins and like 3,800 strikeouts. That guy is I went to game 5 of the World Series in Philly. Verlander pitch, and I yelled 4-letter words at him for 3 hours from section 420. And I'm not proud of it, but I'll tell you what, that guy's the best pitcher of his generation, and I think he's past Clayton Kershaw, Jacob deGrom, and anyone else in that respect. That guy has my unending respect, given what he did this year.
I thought L.A. would be the fit for him, obviously because he's got the house there and his wife, supermodel and actress. I thought that would be no question. But then I heard our buddy C.J. Nikowski from the Rangers say today that Max Scherzer hated pitching in LA because all they try and do is keep you from pitching. They don't want you to throw that much on your sides. They don't allow you to throw that much in games. And these guys want to throw, man. This is what they do. They're starting pitchers. This is what they love. They want to go out there and take the ball and compete. And LA does everything they can to keep you from doing that.
Yeah, when Dave Roberts comes out, strutting out to the mound because for some reason he still has a job after like 5 1/3 innings on the third game of the season when Verlander's thrown 79 pitches. Like, how is he going to act, right? Like, how's that going to go? The Dodgers get all sorts of things right. They've been historically good at pitching over the last 3 years. That's not the place for Justin Verlander. Justin Verlander needs to go somewhere where they're going to let him rip, let him loose. Like that guy, he's chasing history now. And I don't want them suppressing my innings. I've earned the equity. I've built up the equity. People essentially tell them how many pitches, how many innings I can go on a given night, in a given week. That's where he is in his career. So, like, if Justin Verlander, like, I think he is worth $40-45 million a year based on what we saw last year. There's no obvious reason to believe that he's going to deteriorate anytime soon. In fact, it's usually the year after after Tommy John surgery where you thrive. He's going to be better next year. Like, this guy right now could be even better, and that's an astonishing thing to say about a 40-something.
Let's end on this because we know this is the one place you can talk baseball that you don't have to go LeBron James. You don't have to go Tom Brady, Dallas Cowboys. You can talk baseball here. So when you start thinking about the regular season in other sports, you know, back in the day, you go 14-2, 13-3 in the NFL, but you lose after your bye week in the postseason. Nobody cared about your regular season. Nobody. Golden State Warriors, we lived it. Well, they won 73 games. They won 73 games. They lost in nobody cared. Baseball's been trying to hold on for our regular season. Are we now at a point after watching what the Yankees did, the Dodgers did, crapping out, that we now can look at all these old curmudgeons and say, stop telling me how great the regular season is. Get in and show me how great you are in the postseason.
Yeah, I actually think there's something of a double standard when it comes to this stuff in baseball. Like, a lot of this conversation that we had and I heard this year when the Dodgers got Dodgers got bumped, right? And the Braves got bumped. Like all these teams, these hypothetical super teams lost in the playoffs was like, oh, the playoff format is broken. Meanwhile, if Aaron Rodgers loses at home to the 49ers, it's like, like Aaron Rodgers choked, or if the Suns blow this massive lead to the Mavericks, it's like, Chris Paul turnovers. But in baseball, it's like, the playoff format's off. No, there's like, I'm serious. Like there's a randomness to this stuff, right? There's a randomness to this stuff. Like baseball's regular season, like sort of once sacred and holy. I think that injecting the new playoff format has helped the sport a lot. Like my team went to the World Series exclusively this year because of that. I really like the new playoff format. I really do. I think it's just on balance good for baseball to have more really, really important games at the end of the year. Are we devaluing the regular season? Candidly, I don't think so, because what we saw, I think in a perfect microcosm, was the Braves and the Mets essentially play a playoff series for that division, which was the reason why the Mets probably didn't advance in the playoffs. So I think you actually had a jolted September a little bit because the division races mattered so much and getting those top 2 seeds were so important. I think this is something baseball has gotten right. I'm obviously really interested to see how all these like new changes come down the pike next year and how those affect the games. But I think we have to give baseball credit where it's due. Like the new playoff format was a big hit for me. I thought it really impacted the way the games were played in September. And I thought the best of 3 is the ideal format for baseball, which we do everything. Like we do everything in 3-game series. So why not the first round of the playoff?
Or you can just tell the Dodgers beating up on the Rockies and the Diamondbacks isn't that big of a deal. Show up in the postseason.
Yeah, at some point. And honestly, you hear a lot of whispers now, like, are we going to count the Dodgers 2020 championship like it's legit? Like, are we going to say, like, I mean, look.
Hot take.
Look, if we're going to call the Lakers winning the bubble, summer camp, and the Heat getting there, like, summer camp, like, are we going to pretend like the Dodgers ever won aside from that year? I don't mean, look, I personally think it counts the same. And, you saw Clayton Kershaw rush in from the bullpen and look to the skies and in a moment of great relief, and that was awesome. But it's been evidenced any number of times that just because you have the best regular season team, there's a randomness to this thing that is so different. And until the Dodgers win one otherwise, like I'm going to be continuing to question their process in some sense. I think the Astros winning this year went a long way in quelling a lot of those questions because, they won in 2017, of course, by cheating. Being able to get this one off their back, I think, went a long way. I think the Dodgers are next in line there.
Most important thing, Christmas is coming. You've got your book. Can we buy the book and put it under the Christmas tree for people?
You can buy. So I'm working on a couple different things. My book with Mike Greenberg called Got Your Number, which is a chapter book 1 through 100. We've identified who owns every number in sports. If you're a sports fan, you'll love it. If you're a baseball fan, there are plenty of chapters that will fit your fancy. I sent you and Cody the link previously. It's called Got Your Number. I am listed as a co-author with Mike Greenberg, my radio co-host, longtime partner, mentor, etc. And it's a book that you're going to love. I'm parenthetically on the side working on my own baseball book, sort of Hall of Fame type slant thingy. And you and I talked about that a bunch. That's coming down the pike at a later date. I don't have any more formal or official news on that. But that's one that'll be a little more in line with what your audience might be looking for. But in the meantime, I think you guys will really like Got Your Number. Me and Greeny put it together, and it was a lot of fun.
When you come out with your baseball book, we're going to push this thing so hard, we're going to make you a New York Times bestseller.
Oh, I'll throw that, like, dude. That will be that's what first thing on the Twitter bio, right? New York Times bestseller. I'll get like what I need to do is get like the newspaper, like, and cut it out, like highlight the number 19 on the chart, like between like 2 Malcolm Gladwell books. It's like Hembekides, like probably like my last name misspelled, like some baseball, Diamond Legends, whatever. So I greatly await and anticipate the day. You guys are the best. You've been there for me every step of the way and great support. And if we don't talk before the holidays come and go, I'll look forward to catching up after the winter meetings and such.
All right, buddy. You be well. Kiss those
later, boys.
kids.
You got it.
The great Paul Hembekides from ESPN. And then now we switch cameras. Or you can't do that.
I had to zoom it back out. That I'll explain later why that one didn't work.
Why? Which one didn't work? Oh, it didn't. Oh, we were not doing our new fancy thing yet?
No, it's because that iPad's not connected to the computer directly. So it's okay.
You got to get this down. We're trying to be fancy. You either got to get in line. You got to make it happen. We're trying to be fancy. Oh, boy, what you're talking about just popped up. San Jose Mercury News. Several Stanford players set to transfer as Stanford searches for a new head coach. And you know what I say to that? What do you say to that?
Well, people are leaving because they committed to play for David Shaw. So that's probably one of the reasons.
That's what you say?
Also, that they can get the NIL deal somewhere else. The nameless image and likeness.
That's what you say?
Yeah.
You know what I say? Good riddance. You stink anyway.
They were 3. What are they? 3-9 this year?
Yeah. Oh, bad players are transferring. You know what the new head coach is going to say? Bye-bye. Bye-bye. What did Lincoln Riley do to a bunch of guys at USC? What did he do?
Let him go.
Uh-huh. Bye-bye.
He brought his quarterback in from where? Oklahoma.
He brought in his guy. He didn't say, yeah, these guys, David Shaw, because I'll tell you what, there was a lot going on at Stanford with David Shaw. And recruiting was a problem. So the guys that have been the problem are leaving. Bye-bye. I can tell you that right now. We've got to go over some of the things that he talked about. Very interesting as we head to the winter meetings. Is he right on the shortstops? Is he right? Because the shortstops are going to take up a lot of our time when we're down in San Diego. Is he right? We'll talk about it next right here on A's Cast Live.
Oakland Athletics spring training is right around the corner, and you can be part of the excitement. Get your tickets now and plan ahead for a fun-filled trip to Mesa, Arizona this spring. Pack the sunscreen, bring your friends, pick up some ballpark classics, and watch your green and gold get ready for the regular season. Get your tickets today to see the Athletics take on the Giants, Padres, Cubs, Dodgers, and more. Tickets are on sale now at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
The Coliseum has gone by many names, but none better than the Last Dive Bar. Hi, everyone. Ken Korak here, and my friends at Last Dive Bar are helping us celebrate our longtime home. Last Dive Bar has the most unique merchandise for all Oakland baseball fans. T-shirts, sweatshirts, the Ray Fosse line, and my personal favorite, the lights have taken full effect. Visit their website at lastdivebar.com or follow them on social media at Last Dive Bar. All proceeds are invested back into the A's Community Fund and their affiliated charities. Go to lastdivebar.com. That's lastdivebar.com.
The winter meetings start Monday, and A's Cast has you covered. Join Chris Townsend as A's Cast Live will be broadcasting from the Manchester Grand Hyatt in San Diego. Stay up to date on all things green and gold and around Major League Baseball with all major signings. And hear from the biggest names in the sport, such as David Force, Mark Kotze, Terry Francona, Mad Dog Chris Russo, Sarah Langs, and more. Coverage starts Monday at 1 p.m. on A's Cast. And you can watch the show live. Visit youtube.com/athletics or on Twitter at athleticscast24.
Coming in at 5'3", it's number one mom. She switched to Xfinity and got the all-new 3-for-1 bundle. Unlimited internet, streaming, and Xfinity Mobile. All for what you could pay wireless companies for just one 5G unlimited line. Boom shakalaka. Go to Xfinity.com/3-for-1, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit an Xfinity store today. Limited time offer, restrictions apply. Xfinity Mobile requires post-pay Xfinity internet. After 24 months, regular rates apply to all services and devices.
Senior writer for MLB Pipeline Jim Callis was on A's Cast Live and discussed which A's prospect impressed him at the Arizona Fall League.
Zach Geloff kind of stood out to me the most. I'll tell you what surprised me the most about him. He looked pretty good at second base. I think of him as more of a third baseman. I know they play him a lot at second. He looked pretty good at second base when I saw him. I was there for a week. I'll go back to the final week too. But he was pretty impressive. I mean, I know he can hit. He's moved real quick in the minors. I remember I actually saw him for the first time in Arizona. We broadcast the MLB4 tournament. This would have been 2019. It was his first game he played in college. I remember watching him in BP thinking, I'd never heard of him. The way we split the draft in MLB, I have half the country, but I didn't have Zach Geloff, who's from New Jersey. So I didn't really know much about him. I'm like, man, this guy looks really good in BP. And then he hit 3 doubles in the game. But I think Zach Geloff, I think, the question is he a guy who's a solid player versus a guy who's like a cornerstone you build a team around? He might be more of that solid regular than a, true star you build around. But he looked really good in Arizona.
To listen to the full interview and much more, go to athletics.com/A'sCast.
Hey, A's fans, you know that running your own business is a slugfest every day. That's why businesses have been counting on Mechanics Bank since 1905. From operating lines of credit to equipment and real estate loans, they can help build your lineup to meet today's challenges and prepare for tomorrow's opportunities. Stop by your local branch or visit mechanicsbank.com today. Mechanics Bank, the official East Bay bank of the Oakland A's. Member FDIC and equal housing lender. All loans subject to program eligibility and credit approval.
This is Chris Townsend for the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. Great news! Our indoor dining is back, along with our beautiful patio dining. Come taste our world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 83 years. The Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek has one of the most dynamic menus, plus a full bar. Pot pies, gourmet burgers, sandwiches, salads, flatbreads, and more. Don't forget, we still do takeout and delivery. For all the information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
The Oakland Athletics begin spring training on February 25th. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine with your family and friends. Buy your tickets early for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Giants, Dodgers, Padres, Angels, and more at Hohokam Stadium.
And Tony, it's a deep drive to right in the corner. Gritchick going back. He'll turn and watch it fly.
Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
Streaming from the East Bay, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
You know, we haven't mentioned a lot about the A's because all the talk right now nationally is about Sean Murphy, and everybody's interested in Sean Murphy. I will be very interested in the maneuvering. Maybe not, probably doesn't happen at the winter meetings, but there are so many names out there of players that look and smell like Oakland A's. Like yesterday, I was watching MLB Network, as I do every day. My wife is actually like wants to put a ban on how, talk about free speech. She wants to ban like how many days out of the year I can watch MLB Network. Because I'm like, well, the off season is actually more important than the regular season, which is not true. But I say that to her. And she's like, well, why do we have to do it year round? There's not something going on. There's something going on year round. There's always something going on. So they had the ticker going like we have below right now that you see. They had the ticker going for free agents. And I'm texting Cody because I don't know what I was reading yesterday. I'm always looking at something. But Franklin Barreto has signed a minor league deal with the Nationals. I went, my God, Franklin Barreto. And I immediately texted you that. Oh, and your boy, Matthew Boyd, your favorite pitcher.
Back in Detroit, baby.
10 mil.
I'll never understand that the love for him. He was good for the Mariners last year in relief.
By the way, what do you mean he was good for them?
In the 5 games he pitched in,
he pitched like 13 innings.
Solid 13 innings. He helped them get. He was why they got to the postseason.
He's like 0.000% of their entire season. You're saying he pitched well.
Move over, J-Rod. It was because Matthew Boyd.
Here's why. I want to show you how ridiculous some of these statements are by people, and especially someone like Cody. He pitched well for that. I'm going to say he pitched I'm guessing exactly 13 innings. Now, if he goes 13.2, you win. I'm going to say it's 13.
I think I put it on the. He pitched in 10 games. I didn't put the amount of innings. So.
I'm saying out of all the innings, we figured out it's like 4,300 and something outs you got to get in a regular season.
13.1.
I'm off by an out. That's how insignificant. But
1.35 ERA.
Cody has always said, why is this guy so talked about? He stinks. He's making another $10 million. Give me his career. You don't care about record, but I do.
In this case, we can use this argument.
Oh, now because it fits your narrative. What's his career record?
39-62.
What's his career ERA?
4.90.
What's his career ERA plus?
1. ERA plus
1.
91. He's below league average.
I was about to say 1. Okay, how much money has he made? And count the $10 million he's getting from Detroit.
Hold on, scrolling down. He's made up to date. We'll include about almost $31 million.
$31 million to be terrible and to be nothing but left-handed, and they believe you're going to be good.
You want me to give you his best year?
Isn't that amazing?
what a game this is, that you got 30 million. I was having this conversation over with some golf guys who are like, hate live golf, right? And it's only 54 holes and they're guaranteed money. I'm like, well, every sport's guaranteed money but golf. You got a bunch of independent contractors, that in tennis. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, in baseball, you got the top guy in golf this year was Scotty Scheffler. I think he made $12 million. He was the number one player, made 12. And the next guy was Cameron Smith. I think he made like 9. Matthew Boyd would be the second highest paid player on the PGA Tour. And he stinks. And it's a 1-year deal. He's the second. So you wonder why the Live Tour is starting to come. I mean, it's one of the only sports where I'm like, hey, you realize baseball players, they don't have to pay for their own flights. They don't have to pay for their own hotels, doctors, insurance, therapy. We supply everything. NFL, basketball, hockey supplies everything for the players. You know what the PGA Tour supplies for players?
None.
0. A place to maybe make money.
Scotty won the Masters, right?
Correct.
And Cam won the U.S. Open?
British Open, and no, he didn't win the U.S. Open. He won the British Open.
Okay.
Fitzpatrick won the U.S. Open.
That's correct.
But think about
the Brit won the U.S.
Think
Open.
about it. Matthew Boyd, stinker. I believe he'd be right with Cameron Smith, number 2 on the PGA Tour money list. Matthew Boyd.
Here's his best year. We'll go by innings pitched. 2019 at age 28, he went 9-12 with a 4.56 ERA and 32 starts. 185 in the third innings. He did strike out 238 batters. Okay.
Who cares?
He allowed 39 home runs, the most in baseball.
The one thing you could say, he gave you innings.
The year before,
somebody's got to give you innings.
The year before, he pitched 170 in the third. That was his career high going it before the 185. He went 9-13 with a 4.39. So he's a slightly below average starter by his numbers.
No, he's a below average.
Well, his ERA plus those 2 years was over 100.
But for his
102
career,
and 104.
he is below average.
I mean, when you have an ERA close,
made $30 million being below average.
A 4.90 ERA, if you want to do ERA plus 91, that's 9 points below.
He's below
league average.
He's getting $10 million. And Franklin Barreto, he's only 27 years old. Remember Franklin Barreto? How often we had to talk about the Donaldson trade, Franklin Barreto. He's the hey, once they threw in, because Brett Laurie wasn't it.
Sean Nolan.
Kendall Graveman.
Sean Nolan.
Nope. Once they threw in Barreto, it was a done deal.
And Graveman's the only one still pitching.
And all the time we had to talk about the future's Barreto. Finally, the A's cut ties with Barreto. Who would he trade to Anaheim for? What's his name? Second baseman.
LaStella?
Tommy LaStella. So you get Tommy LaStella. He goes to Anaheim. Guess what? They play the same dance. They played the exact same dance. Excuse me, cold. The Angels played the exact same dance with Franklin Barreto. Hey, look at the age. Look at the talent. Look who he could be. Gave him a little taste of the big leagues. Look what happened. Here he is. So it's now been Toronto, Oakland, Anaheim. Has there been anybody else since?
Wasn't he with the Astros? I want to say he played for I don't know if he made the majors, but he's playing for the Astros system. I'm pretty sure. He hasn't been in the majors since 2020. Let me just find out his team.
Okay, if you go Astro, now Nationals, he's 27 years old. He's been in how many franchises? And remember everybody said about how great this guy was going to be? It's just another stop telling me about how good your prospects are. Stop telling me.
Astros last year. He signed a minor league contract with the Astros. He signed on March 22nd, was released in August.
You would have thought, even though he's right-handed, you would have thought he was the next Joe Morgan, the way they talked about him at second base.
Do you want to know his career stats? Negative 1.0 WAR, 228 at bats, 9 home runs, 175 batting average, 47 OPS plus. 100's league average. He was at 47.
Toronto, Oakland, Anaheim, Houston, Washington. It's 5 organizations and you're 27 years old. And yet we were acting like this guy is going to be prolific. This guy is going to be the long-time answer for the A's at second base. 5 different organizations, and he's 27 years old. If we think the light is going to go on at some point and we're going to be like, oh, he finally made the All-Star game. Oh, he's finally one of the best players. I don't know. Let's play the audio because obviously – so back to the A's. I don't know if anything happens, but watching that ticker yesterday, the Padres free agents came up, and I just went, oh, my God.
Well, they all, yeah.
Sean Manaea, Jurickson Profar, Drury. I went, just the Padre free agents alone sound like Oakland A's. Bringing a couple guys back, Drury would fit. I mean, there'll be, I believe, I think Bellinger is not fallen enough yet to take the one-year flyer with the A's. There's still going to be someone dumb enough to think he's young enough, we can fix him.
Smells like a Rocky.
Nah, I think he could be like Blue Jays or Mets.
I was thinking of okay, so Blue Jays, yeah. I was thinking of like Colorado because he can go there and hit 240, but hit 30 home.
Nemo leaves. One of the Mets bring him in to give him an opportunity at center.
Yeah, that could happen. I'm looking at a ballpark where he can hit a lot of home runs, and that'll mask his bad batting average.
I don't know. You know what?
Maybe he likes the school system.
Maybe 2024 he more sounds like an Oakland A. Let him go fail somewhere else, then come to us in 2024, and then it's a perfect fit for Cody Bellinger. But I got a feeling we're not going to have as much of a hodgepodge as last year. I have a feeling we're gonna have a little more. There'll be 1-year deals. It will be, but it'll be a little bit better. It's going to be a little bit better. You're able to fish out of the pond that was closed last year because of, and I know I've talked about that before, but the A's were kind of cut off. That pond that you normally fish in late in the year that's got some good fish in it was cut off because of the lockout. So all of a sudden, lockout ends. All right, we got to start playing. It's just not time. So that pond that the A's normally fish in is back. I want to play from MLB Network, our man, John Morosi, because the talk is still going to be Aaron Judge. And there was a report yesterday. I'm not buying it, the 8 years, $300 million. And the reason why I'm not buying it is because it was just part of the article. So it wasn't the article, right? Like if you know for fact, Jeff Passan knew for a fact that it was 8 years, $300 million, it would have been the first line in the article.
Yeah, it was reported, and he said neighborhood of 8 years, $300 million, and it could increase depending on whatever offer.
What does neighborhood mean? Is that
295
on my block, around my block, 2 blocks down? I mean, my neighborhood's pretty big. I live in San Jose. I live in the 10th largest city in the country. There's over 1 million people here in San Jose. Are you considered my neighbor? You live in Japantown.
Yeah, I'm like 10 minutes from you.
Are you my neighbor?
No, Mr. Rogers, I'm not.
I mean, what is the definition? I love to go to definitions. Don't make me bring up vindictive again about Pete Rose and baseball. A person living near or next door to the speaker or person referred to. So, yeah, neighborhood could be 3 blocks down. Well, what's 3 blocks down from 8 years, $300 million? 8 years, 290?
I would say like 8 years, 293.
285?
Yeah, probably in there. Between that 285 and 300.
Because let me tell you something. If he knew for a fact it was 8 years, 300, it would have led the article.
Yeah,
it would have been Aaron Judge has been offered, not in the neighborhood, has been offered 8. So we got Jay Jaffe coming on. How long is this?
A minute, a little under 2 minutes.
All right, for you Giant fans, supposedly Judge still in play. Here's John Morosi.
The Giants are a very realistic possibility. This is not a Yankees at 70% likelihood and the Giants at 30. I think that we are very close to 50-50, where if the Giants really step up and get that AAV up closer to $40 million a year, there's a legitimate chance that Aaron Judge becomes a San Francisco Giant. And a couple more notes on the discussion that you just had. Number one, let's take a step back and realize the offer that the Yankees made to Judge, total guarantee back at the end of spring training around opening day, was just less than $220 million. So Aaron Judge already, based on the numbers that Jeff has reported, and I believe that they are correct, he has already made himself guaranteed at least $80 million additional dollars. Let's think about that for a minute. He has made himself, by turning that offer down, an additional $80 million at least, and that number could go up. The other part here, and Harold referenced this a moment ago, I really believe that Aaron Judge won't sign with the Giants unless there is a credible and actionable plan to put a winning team around him that can get to the postseason. I don't think Aaron Judge will take on all that pressure and expectation of going across the country if he looks at the roster and says, we're going to finish 500 and behind the Dodgers and Padres. They're going to have to, whether it's Kodai Senga or one of the infielders, do something that validates Judge's faith. And that is where I think Farhan Zaidi has to come up with a comprehensive plan in the next week to 10 days that shows Aaron Judge, you're not just going to come here and make a lot of money. You're going to come here and win and make the playoffs in 2023.
Well, you got to do more than show a plan. You got to go sign some people. And that's why people say Judge may not sign until towards Christmas. So the Giants better go out and sign some people. Can they sign Correa and Judge? I mean, they're going to have to sign some people. You just can't say, this is what we want to do. And then he signs up, and then all of a sudden he goes from, as you heard Paul Hembekides say, the only time the Yankees have finished in last place back-to-back years or whatever is 19-something.
Yeah.
Like 1913 or something like that. I mean, he's been in the playoffs every year, and all of a sudden you're going to come out west and get your you-know-what handed to you by the Dodgers and the Padres. I mean, that's a bad look. And just so you can say, Rich Aurelio is my favorite player. And I love Richie. I've known Rich Aurelio for a long time. I see Richie when I do A's TV up there, NBC in San Francisco. But, I mean, seriously, but just because of Rich Aurelio, I mean, you're going to need more than that. Jay Jaffe from Fangraphs. Boy, I can't wait what he has to say about the Hall of Fame vote on Sunday, day one of the winter meetings. You get 3 votes. Who does he think deserves them? We'll hear it next right here on A's Cast Live.
The Oakland Athletics begin spring training on February 25th. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine with your family and friends. Buy your tickets early for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Giants, Dodgers, Padres, Angels, and more at Hohokam Stadium.
And Tony, it's a deep drive to right in the corner. Gritchick going back. He'll turn and watch it fly.
Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
Humanity has accomplished a whole lot so far. We created penicillin, the automobile, and the internet, not to mention drones, duct tape, and the hot dog. It's all thanks to the power of human connections. And Ring Central's here to make that even easier, more seamlessly and securely, on a platform built to grow your business. Say hello to a whole new way to say hello. Visit ringcentral.com and say hello to possibilities. Ring Central. Message, video, phone, together.
The winter meetings start Monday, and A's Cast has you covered. Join Chris Townsend as A's Cast Live will be broadcasting from the Manchester Grand Hyatt in San Diego. Stay up to date on all things green and gold and around Major League Baseball with all major signings. And hear from the biggest names in the sport, such as David Forst, Mark Kotze, Terry Francona, Mad Dog Chris Russo, Sarah Langs, and more. Coverage starts Monday at 1 p.m. on A's Cast, and you can watch the show live. Visit youtube.com/athletics or on Twitter at athleticscast24.
The Coliseum has gone by many names, but none better than the Last Dive Bar. Hi, everyone. Ken Korak here, and my friends at Last Dive Bar are helping us celebrate our longtime home. Last Dive Bar has the most unique merchandise for all Oakland baseball fans. T-shirts, sweatshirts, the Ray Fosse line, and my personal favorite, the lights have taken full effect. Visit their website at lastdivebar.com or follow them on social media at Last Dive Bar. All proceeds are invested back into the A's Community Fund and their affiliated charities. Go to lastdivebar.com. That's lastdivebar.com.
This is Chris Townsend for the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. Great news! Our indoor dining is back, along with our beautiful patio dining. Come taste our world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 83 years. The Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek has one of the most dynamic menus, plus a full bar. Pot pies, gourmet burgers, sandwiches, salads, flatbreads, and more. Don't forget, we still do takeout and delivery. For all the information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is a national brand with family-owned prices and service. You can shop at one of their Barrie locations, and all stores are sanitized and safe, or you can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Green and gold fans, use the coupon code Oakland, and you'll get 10% off your entire order. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
Big Murph, Sean Murphy stopped by A's Cast Live to talk about what Stephen Vogt has meant to his career.
You know, Stephen sort of ushered me into my career. My first spring training, he was there. And, you know, he was the guy I looked up to. I followed him around. And he took me under his wing when he didn't have to, and he made time for me when he didn't have to. And it speaks to who he is as a person. He's just a tremendous person. I can't say enough good words about Stephen. He's a genuine person. He cares. He's sincere with everything he does and everything he says. And it's gonna be a tough day for everybody.
To listen to the full interview and much more, go to athletics.com/A'sCast.
A's Cast Live continues from the town. Here's Chris Townsend.
All righty. We're going to be calling Jay Jaffe, senior writer, Fangraphs. He's got a great picture of him and Gaylord Perry. And they both got, let's see, he has a St. Louis hat on. Gaylord's got the Giants St. Patrick's Day hat on. And he's got the Giants Hawaiian shirt going. It's actually a pretty good look. And Jay, obviously, an unbelievable job with Fangraphs and talking about the Hall of Fame, which is going to be the number one thing that we're going to be talking about when we get to San Diego. No question. And do we have Jay? Jay, welcome back to A's Cast Live. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How you doing?
We're doing great. I was just talking about on your Twitter feed, the picture with you and Gaylord Perry, who just passed, the great Hall of Famer, obviously starred out here for so many years. I actually grew up in San Diego, and when I was a little kid, when he won the Cy Young in '78 for the Padres in those old brown and yellow uniforms, I remember, even though I was a little kid, I remember he was a big deal, right? And just sad to see him go. Our beloved Ray Fosse was such good friends with him from their time playing in Cleveland. We truly lost one of the greats, and I hope people really understand he really was one of the greats of all time.
He was, and he was like, you know, for a young fan, and I'm sure you probably felt this as well. I mean, like, just this very colorful player, kind of irreverent, one of a kind. Because I mean, like, the spitball had been outlawed 60 years earlier, and he was only 40 years old, and yet he seemed like he was just such a throwback. And to watch his antics on the mound, and the way he got in hitters' heads, with like the idea that he was always loading up the ball, when in reality it was probably not that often at all, was pretty remarkable. But it's like, he was so good, he's so durable, stuck around for so long. He and Steve Carlton and Tom Seaver, they all passed Walter Johnson's seemingly unassailable strikeout record in short order, and just a really impressive career. And I watched a lot of him when he was with the Mariners. My grandparents lived in Walla Walla, Washington, and so there were a couple summers we stayed there that I feel like we got to see several starts of his, and just always fun to watch.
And it's tough to tell the younger audience now, but back in the day, being on late night television when we didn't have cable, Johnny Carson was the king of television. And this guy was a character. He's got the Southern draw. He used to show up on the late night talk shows. That's how big a deal he was.
Yeah, he was definitely somebody who had broken out of the niche to become a wider cultural phenomenon. But the performances, I think, always get overlooked. Just how good he was too. I mean, I have him 18th in my my updated pitcher Jaws system. I mean, a top 20 pitcher, just so great. Just so many colorful stories. It was an honor to meet him and just chat with him for a few minutes and tell him how much fun I had watching him. He was tickled by that.
I mean, we all love the Baseball Hall of Fame. I've been there 3 times. Cooperstown is such a magical place. Just how cool is it for you personally, your Jaws, and how people look at the Hall of Fame and they look at your work, that you're affiliated with that. And when people are judging Hall of Famers, they go to your model. Just how cool. I've never asked you this, but how cool is that?
It's awesome, really. I mean, there was, let's see, when Minnie Minoso got in a year ago, I mean, I got invited to the Minoso party at the induction weekend last year. And they told me that, wow, it meant a lot to you that you worked hard to give Minnie, an airing with your system and your work. And that meant a lot. And I go in there and I look at the plaques of half a dozen guys who, had slow starting candidacies and got attention in part because of Jaws and because of the platform I had first at Sports Illustrated and then at Fangraphs. Tim Raines, Larry Walker, Edgar Martinez, Mike Messina, Alan Trammell. These come from behind stories. I know that my work helped put them there and give them their due. And it's gratifying to see, a Scott Rowland getting traction or Todd Helton or whatever. And know that's part of the reason that more voters are paying attention.
Ah, man, that would give me chills, because when you go into that plaque room, it is so sacred. Just the way the lighting is and the way the lightings are on the plaque, and that's the most special room in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And for you to be able to go in there and say, I helped some of these guys get these plaques, wow, that is big. So obviously on Sunday, we're going to find out, they're going to have the show on MLB Network, 5 o'clock, this group that's now up and in front of this 16 person committee. Each person gets 3 votes. We're going to arrive Monday morning. Our show will be at 1 o'clock. I know that's going to be the number one thing when we get to San Diego, that everybody's going to be talking about the winter meeting. So do you think anybody gets in on Sunday? And if you had the 3 votes, who would you vote for?
Boy, you're talking about 2 very different sets here. Yeah. I think that the Fred McGriff is going to be the most likely honoree. I would put his chances of getting in at about 80%. I think that he's not a guy who my system really likes a lot. He's kind of one-dimensional, never anything close to an MVP, but came very close to 500 home runs and had, and would have gotten there if not for the 94 player strike. Had a clean reputation as far as PEDs, generally well-regarded guy within the game. I don't have it in me to rail against it as an improper selection, but I think that his candidacy was always made for this committee, which doesn't rely as much on the advanced stats and kind of goes by traditional accomplishment. I think he gets in. I think if there's a second, it's most likely to be Kurt Schilling. It's tough to get 2 people in with this format, though. Schilling, again, a guy who I think after alienating so many voters among the writers, probably has a better chance here because these guys weren't exposed to all of his just noxious behavior to the same degree that those of us who are terminally online because it's part of our jobs, were aware of. So I think he's probably the second guy who will get in. If I had a ballot, I would be voting for Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens. I draw a line between what happened before the testing era in 2004 began and what happened after. And what Bonds and Clemens did, I don't condone it, but I think it belongs to the Wild West era when nobody was enforcing anything, and and owners were looking the other way. If I had a third vote, I'm not sure who I would choose. I think, the other candidates, Don Mattingly and Dale Murphy, don't really come up very well in Jaws. Likewise, Albert Bell. I do have a bit of an affection for Murphy, and his decency stands out in this kind of rogues gallery of miscreants. And I think if I had a third vote, I would probably throw one his way, even though I think his case is a little short. I think he just, if you're ever going to invoke the character clause as a positive for a guy who's a little short, he's the guy I'd use it on.
That's interesting that you say that, because the character clause, we're always talking about guys who are bad guys, and we're never talking enough about how guys are good guys and great for the game. Because, I mean, how could you not say Dale Murphy or Don Mattingly and the fan bases, and how especially Don Mattingly was a national star? These guys were good for the game.
Yeah, and I put Murphy ahead of Mattingly because he played the tougher position and had the 2 MVP awards as opposed to the 1. But yeah, I mean, those guys were really good for the game, and they couldn't hold their bodies couldn't hold out because of the injuries, and their numbers just really aren't there. There are better players than them outside the hall. There are worse players than them inside the hall. That's not a reason to induct them. But after Harold Baines got in a few years ago, I'm like, why are we nitpicking Dale Murphy? And I think Fred McGriff was the other name I used. I would much rather see a guy like Murphy who was I think genuinely one of the top 5 players in the game during that 1981 to 87 stretch. Get in than a lesser guy who was just more of a compiler and didn't really have the career numbers that jumped off the page.
God, if we don't have Fred McGriff, we don't have one of the great cable television commercials of all time, the Tom Amanskys. I mean, without Fred McGriff, we don't have that.
Yeah, you want a scandal? Fred McGriff has never actually seen the commercial.
I know, it's one of the best stories ever. And they played that on ESPN over and over and over again.
Yeah, I don't know how he gets out of watching late night TV, man. Who among us hasn't been up at 1 a.m. seeing that video at some point or another? It's like, okay. You see it a second time, it's like, it's probably time to go to bed.
All right, so when you look at Jaws, who right now rates the best that's not in the Hall of Fame?
Well, Bonds and Clemens, that they're kind of a separate category because they're not being kept out based on their performance. Among the current candidates, Scott Rowland is really the guy who I think is the must. And fortunately, he's trending towards election. Another guy started at like 10.2%, but he's trending towards election. He has the let's see, where is he in the rankings? He's got the 3rd highest Jaws of anybody on the ballot behind Alex Rodriguez and Carlos Beltran. I haven't quite figured out what to do with Beltran yet. I wrote the profile for it, but we're going to hold it because it needs some editorial TLC. But Rowland is very close to Beltran, and his candidacy is so much less complicated. So he's my number 1 guy on this year's ballot. Probably the only guy who has a realistic shot at getting to 75% this year, but I would say it's something of a coin toss because he's got a lot of ground to make up, 63% last year. Veteran era committee guys, outside of this year's group, Dick Allen is number 1 for me. I'd like to see Lou Whitaker and Dwight Evans and Bobby Grich in there too, but all those guys were, they'll have to battle for ballot. Some of them belong to the earlier era. Some of them were just left out of this process. Evans and Whitaker should have been on this ballot. Dick Allen, I'm hopeful in 2 years he gets a shot. Again, there's a tragedy that he's not in already.
Beltran's so interesting because, you know, we've had the PED guys and we've had gambling with Pete Rose, and you were either for or against these guys. Beltran brings in the whole new thing with the cheating scandal and banging on the drums and never got to manage the Mets. I mean, if Beltran didn't have all that and you just looked at his numbers in his career, would you say, yes, he should be a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, he's ninth in Jaws, 8th in career WAR among center fielders. There are only 6 guys who have 2,500 hits, 300 steals, and 300 home runs. Bonds and Mays and A-Rod are 3 of them. Beltran and Andre Dawson, whose counting stats are extremely similar to Beltran's, are the other 2, and then Steve Finley, who's definitely a tier below those guys. But yeah, on the numbers, Carlos Beltran's a Hall of Famer. It's how do we grapple with his central role in the Astros sign stealing, and I don't know. It troubles me. At the same time, should this be a capital offense for a guy's Hall of Fame case? I don't think so. So I'm kind of leaning towards I would leave him off my ballot this year and reconsider next year, and not ruling him out for future voting. I worry that enough people think like that he could fall off the ballot entirely, though.
Yeah, this one's going to be real interesting. Winter meetings starting on Sunday. We'll be there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. What are your expectations? Do you think we see some big signings?
Yeah, I think we'll see some big signings. It wouldn't surprise me if the Aaron Judge pursuit ends by the end of the winter meetings. Hopefully not while I'm in the air on Wednesday, because I have to write that up for Fangraphs.
Can we do everything by Tuesday?
Yeah, can we get this stuff done by Tuesday?
Yeah.
And then it wouldn't be surprised to me if the starting pitcher dominoes start to fall. DeGrom back to the Mets, Justin Verlander to somewhere. I think not necessarily. There may be other destinations for DeGrom or Verlander than back to their respective teams. It sounds like the Dodgers are interested. It sounds like in Verlander. It sounds like the Yankees are interested in Verlander. I wouldn't be surprised to see some movement here. Carlos Rodon also, in the mix, among the bigger spending teams. So I think we'll see some of those guys find resolution here in the next few days.
And we'll end on this. Obviously, everybody's talking about Judge. Judge stay on the East Coast, or does he come out west to us?
I still think he stays in New York, because I think New York can take a look at whatever anybody else offers him and say, fine, we'll give you that and 10 million more or something like that. And do you want, like he said, he wanted to be a Yankee for life. Does he? If he does, they'll make it happen. If he wants to go back home, you can't fight that either. I mean, that's a perfectly understandable and valid impulse, but I think the Yankees are better set up to win over the next few years than the Giants are. And if that plays into his thinking, and if he really does want to be here, he'll be here.
Are you gonna be in San Diego for the winter meetings?
I will. Yep, I'll be there from Sunday to Wednesday.
Well, great stuff as always. We appreciate the time, and we'll see you in San Diego. Finally meet face to face.
Yeah, sure. Come find me or shoot me a text, and we'll meet up.
Great stuff. We'll see you down south.
Okay, take care.
The great Jay Jaffe from Fangraphs, and his Jaws is referenced by everybody. It's really a cool deal. When I say by us out west, I'm just not saying San Francisco, right? I mean, out west.
Could be LA. Could be Seattle.
LA.
Arizona.
I don't know if I go that far.
You're telling me you don't think Torrey can get Aaron Judge to come out?
I don't think Bob Melvin can get him out, but would you be 100% shocked if all of a sudden he signed with the Dodgers?
Not at all.
No, I would not be.
Linden's not as close to LA as it is to San Francisco.
But you want stardom? You want money? You want the one place that you can actually get juice like you can in New York? I mean, remember, when you star in LA, there's a lot of perks of being a star in LA. Just not like I'm a really good baseball player, all-star. Like if you star in LA, Lakers, Wayne Gretzky did it. Multiple Lakers have done it. Multiple Dodgers. Now, there's a reason why Mike Piazza ended up on Baywatch, right? Wasn't for his time with the Florida Marlins.
He was on Baywatch?
Yeah, Mike Piazza was swinging a bat on Baywatch. You get on television shows, you get in movies. It's LA, man. So I will never be shocked if a player ever in the end goes, well, the Dodgers swept me off my feet.
So while Jay was on, I looked at his Jaws rankings. And can you take a guess how many of the guys in his top 23 are in the Hall of Fame for starting pitchers? Top 23 starting pitchers according
to
all time according to Jaws.
That are active or not active?
There's one guy that's active. It's fairly simple who it is.
Well, be Verlander, right?
Yeah, he's 20th with a Jaws rating of, let's see, his Jaws is 64.
There's got to be a trick question because I would say they're all in the Hall of Fame.
Incorrect, they're not. The number 3 guy is not in the Hall of Fame. That'd be the great Roger Clemens.
Why do you do that? That's starting to drive me nuts.
What?
Obviously, Roger Clemens is a Hall of Famer. So you can't say, oh, who's not in? I'm thinking an actual legit, this guy's not. We know why Clemens and Bonds are not in. We need to stop this.
The number 22 guy is Curt Schilling.
There you go. You know how many times everybody's done that now where they go, you know who's not in? And then you're actually trying to think, oh, God, who's not in? Bonds. We know Pete Rose and Bonds and Clemens are not in.
Let me give you a couple guys below Schilling in the Jaws rankings according to Jay Jaffe that are in the Hall of Fame. There's Kershaw and Greinke who are not in the Hall of Fame yet. Tom Glavine.
Well, how about this? What if Greinke goes into the Hall of Fame? And Schilling's not.
It's very, I don't know.
That's a bad look.
Yeah.
That's a bad look, man. I get it. He said so. I don't follow him on Twitter. I'm not a Schilling guy. I'm not a Schilling. I mean, I don't have I don't have a Curt Schilling jersey. I'm just telling you. I'm a baseball guy. Curt Schilling's a Hall of Famer. You don't like his politics. You don't like some of his antics. You don't like that he wasn't the nicest guy in the world. I don't care. He's a Hall of Famer. You're starting to weaken the credibility of the museum by not putting the best players in. Just because you're soft and you don't like, I can't believe he said this. Who cares? Get your ass off Twitter. You know what? Voters should be allowed to vote because of what they see on Twitter. How about that for your moral clause? You can't make decisions off who's a Hall of Famer or not based off what you see on Twitter. And then, I mean, how many dudes are you taking out of the Baseball Hall of Fame if they played in the Twitter era? Ty Cobb's coming off. I mean, you got all these dudes you'd be coming off. I mean, it's ridiculous.
So here, let me give you the list of a couple guys. By the way, Greinke, quietly 223 wins. He's only 20 behind Verlander. I mean, he's not going to pass Verlander, but Greinke, good WAR too. Greinke 76.5. He's only essentially one WAR behind Justin Verlander. So Tom Glavine, Nolan Ryan.
Wait, who's they're behind who?
These are all guys that are behind Schilling that are in the Hall of Fame.
Oh my God.
Glavine, Nolan Ryan, Roy Halladay.
Oh my God.
You see, I'm just going to keep going. Jim Palmer, John Smoltz, Don Drysdale, Juan Marichal, Bob Feller. I can keep going, but you get the gist.
Well, you're going to need to save all this, and we're going to have to write down everything that Hembo said. Like 300 strikeouts three different times in the National League, only Koufax, Randy Johnson, and him. So, like, I could see Susan not voting for him and go, we're going to lay all this out. That's not a Hall of Famer. Because basically what the Hall of Fame needs to find out is, okay, we've got a problem if the morals clause is just we don't like guys. Especially if we don't like them for politics. And that's a major thing going on in our country right now. Is this great divide in politics? This is a museum in the Baseball Hall of Fame. You know, I mean, if I have to belong to a certain party and have a certain belief to get in the Baseball Hall of Fame, we got a problem. We got a problem. I just, and Jay kind of crapped on McGriff. I'm like, really? Fred McGriff was a baller back in the day.
I'm looking to see where McGriff. Okay, here's a good example. First baseman, Jaws leaders. These are guys below a guy I'm going to give you. Willie McCovey, Eddie Murray, Harmon Killebrew, Joe Torre won as a manager, David Ortiz, Orlando Cepeda, all have a lower Jaws rating than Rafael Palmeiro.
Palmeiro's the PED, so we know why those guys aren't in.
I wanted to
Where's Fred McGriff?
Okay, let me look up McGriff.
How many guys are in the Hall of Fame below McGriff?
Orlando Cepeda, Don Mattingly,
who got in on the Veterans Committee, whatever they called it then. That was back. Do you remember when?
No.
1999. He went in with George Brett, Nolan Ryan, and Robin Yount.
So Fred McGriff's 32nd, Don Mattingly's 39th. Gil Hodges is in, but he won as a manager too, right? He was just put in recently. Yeah. I'm looking at the first baseman Hall of Famers. Yeah, there's not many guys that are below him. Yeah, but still, he's 30. McGriff was what they say was 32nd. Ahead of him, there are a couple guys ahead of him. Tony Perez, David Ortiz.
He's right next to him.
Yeah, his Jaws rating is, I think it's 44. Yeah, 44.3, and David Ortiz's was 45.3. So he's 2 behind.
And David Ortiz didn't play in the field. I'm just hoping, you know the old expression from Happy Days, jump the shark?
Yeah.
When Fonzie jumped the shark, and that basically the program was over. I'm wondering, because the key to keeping a place, a business thriving, right, is to give reason for people to go and to not have the museum have this cloud over it. Because right now there's a cloud over it. And you got my generation who doesn't care. I'll still go. I'll still spend the money. Because, by the way, Cooperstown, New York is not easy to get to. It's not. You fly into New York or New Jersey and then rent a car, or you're going to fly into Albany, the capital of New York, which is about 45 minutes away. It's not easy to get to, and it's expensive. So if you want to keep people going there, this next generation, these kids, if you keep making all this murky stuff and now we're not putting people in, and I don't know if it's good for the Hall all around. I mean, at what point do people start going, the hell with it, I'm not going. You're spending thousands and thousands to go. You think about flights, hotels, you got all these like bed and breakfasts. They are not cheap. And if people just start thinking like, I don't like the way the business is being conducted, that maybe not good for business long term.
I agree. The only time we drove.
Now it takes a long time, by the way, to change things. But if there's this whole generation that's growing up and all they hear is the debate about Bonds and Clemens and Pete Rose, it used to just be Pete Rose. And everybody went gambling. Ooh, sports gambling was naughty because everybody used bookies unless you're in Nevada. But now baseball is thoroughly into gambling. You're seeing fantasy ads, FanDuel, the MGM. Baseball's in on gambling. So it's not just Rose anymore. It's all these different players, and now Beltran. Beltran's not gambling. Beltran's not PEDs. He's the cheating scandal. So if Beltran gets in, think about how long this black cloud is going to go, right? If Beltran doesn't get in because of the cheating scandal, that means that's going to weigh heavily on Altuve. Altuve is how long away from retirement?
He's only like 30 or 31, so probably we'll say 7 to 8 years.
7, 8 years, another 5 years till he can be voted on. So we could be talking about this 12, 13 years from now with Altuve. You're talking decades long of constantly discussing why players are not going in, and it has nothing to do what they did as players.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to turn a ship, but, if you start polling baseball fans and the Baseball Hall of Fame and all the talk is not about how many it's about analytics. Well, if you're not talking about home runs and RBIs and average and wins and stuff like that, and we're going to base it all off analytics, a lot of your RA9, your RA wins, and then you're going to do it off scandals. At some point, the public is going to turn the channel and not care.
I agree. And I'll give you one more before we get out of here and give our big bowl predictions for the
I got a big bowl prediction.
Well, I looked up Jeff Kent. Jeff Kent has a 45.6 JAWS. That's just below Ian Kinsler. Ian Kinsler is not going to sniff the Hall of Fame. He was a good player. He's already ahead of Jose Altuve as we speak. There are Hall of Famers below Jeff Kent. The only thing is not
who?
Some of these guys I'm not even. Johnny Evers is on there. Bid McPhee, Tony Lazzari.
Bid?
Yeah. When did he play? 1882.
There you go. Bid was a great player in 1882.
Bill Mazeroski. He hit one greatest home runs in the history of the World Series, but
that's a big home run.
But those are some guys. Kent's 21st. Altuve's going
to 20 for second baseman.
For second baseman, he's not in the Hall of Fame. What's scandals?
But yet he's got more home runs and RBIs than any of those guys ahead of him.
Correct. Yes. He has 377. The next closest guy is a guy that's probably not going to get in either because of the scandal, Robbie Cano.
Everywhere you look, we can't put guys in. We can't put guys into the Hall of Fame. It's mind-blowing. Can't put him in. Can't put him in. Can't put him in. Can't put him in and him and him. Oh, but he can get in, but he can't and he can't. That's where we're at.
Here you go. Negative 0.1 WAR, defensive WAR. I love Craig Biggio. Craig Biggio is a negative 2.9 defensive WAR all time. That is correct.
So Biggio is worse defensive WAR than Jeff Kent. He gets in, but Jeff Kent's got more dingers, more RBIs, but Biggio's got more hits.
Yeah, Biggio's WAR was 65, so he had a higher WAR by about 10. But his deep.
I'm 50 and I'm about over the Hall of Fame. And my grandfather's got stuff in the Hall of Fame. I've been to the bowels of the Hall of Fame. I've seen cool stuff. I love the place. Like I said, I've been there 3 times. I'm about over it. I'm not like, who can you put in? Who you can't? I don't like him for this. And it's like high school. It's like a high school popularity contest. He was mean to me, so I can't put him in. He was smoking pot after school, so I can't put him in. It's like high school. This literally has become like high school. And then Beltran comes in, and now he steps up to the front door, and now he's a whole different reason why we can't let somebody in the party, right? Drugs, gambling, that was that. What's Beltran? He's sneaky.
I'm going to look up Beltran right now, see where he's at real quick because we're
Beltran's spying on us in high school, so we can't put him in.
I'll give you a list of guys ahead of him for center fielders. Tell me if you think they're all Hall of Famers but one because the guy's still playing. Willie Mays.
Decent player.
Ty Cobb.
Yeah, decent player.
Tris Speaker.
Decent player.
Mick. Trouty.
Heard of him.
Griff.
Overrated. Overrated. Senior or junior?
Junior. Joe DiMaggio.
Where have you gone?
Duke Snyder.
Who?
And then who's 9th?
Beltran.
Oh,
my God.
Hold on. Who's 10th?
I don't know.
Kenny Lofton. Who's 11th?
Kenny Lofton was a good player.
Who's Andrew Jones?
By the way, where did Kenny Lofton play hoop?
Arizona.
Was a terrific player. Andrew Jones is a Hall of Famer. I'd put Andrew Jones. I never really thought about Kenny Lofton. But Kenny Lofton, you have to look at as a leadoff hitter.
Kenny Lofton, 68.4 WAR.
68?
Yep.
Put him in.
Let's see. Hold on. Let me just go. He finished in the top 5 of the MVP once. I know that people look at that. Career home runs, he had 130. No one cares. He was a center fielder.
Guy.
I'm sure, but he was a 299 career hitter.
299?
Yeah.
I'm putting Lofton in.
Yeah,
You know what? I'm now on the Kenny Lofton bandwagon. Arizona Wildcat.
But back on the second baseman real quick, 5 of the top 16 guys that are in the Hall of Fame. Think about it. Well, Cano and Utley aren't eligible yet, but Lou Whitaker's not in.
Utley's not getting in. What was Utley's WAR?
64.5.
That's pretty good.
Bobby Grich is in it. He had a 71.1.
Oh, Bobby Grich. And that to me, I was a little kid when he played for the Angels. So I just remember some games on KTLA when I was a kid. I'm not going to say I saw Bobby Grich's career. I just remember Bobby Grich from when I was a kid. But he's got a 70 WAR and he's not in?
Correct.
I don't.
Lou Whitaker's WAR is 75.1.
He's part of the best double play combination in the history of baseball.
He would be 7th on WAR among second basemen if you looked at this.
Him and Alan Trammell. And Alan Trammell had to go Veterans Committee. And Luke,
I can't wait for everyone to start making the argument when it gets down. We're like, Pedroia should be a Hall of Famer.
No, he got hurt, so we'll never have that. But it really is. It's like a party at high school. Who are we letting in and who are we not? And there's a bunch of reasons why we're not letting people in. There's a bunch of reasons, and it's not like it's not like we're giving them jobs and giving them money in Major League Baseball. You're putting them into a museum that's about the history of the game. That's it. That's all it is. Being a baseball Hall of Famer is you're inducted, you're voted in to a museum. We're not saying you get this. Here's $10 million. Here's a job. Here's this. Here's that. No, all it is a plaque.
Yeah.
That's all it is a plaque in a museum forever. Nothing else. Nothing else. And what, on your Wikipedia page, it says HOF? I mean, it's crazy. You get in, you don't, you do, you don't. I mean, that's where we're at. We used to, I believe, if I remember correctly, when I was growing up, you got voted in based on your career. Now we're voting on all kinds of stuff. The Beltron thing brought a whole new issue in. Now it's spying. So we got drugs, we got gambling, and we got spying.
Before we get out of here, let's do give me your big, bold prediction for the winter meetings.
My big, bold prediction is when I step foot in San Diego on Monday morning, Curt Schilling will be a Baseball Hall of Famer. Curt Schilling is going to get voted in. That's my big, bold prediction. Nobody likes him. Totally understandable. But his career speaks for itself. The numbers speak for itself. The postseason speaks for itself. And if he never gets in, and you don't have him ever arrested, you don't have him for any crime, you don't have him for PEDs, that's why we've kept guys out, right? We've kept guys out for crimes, PEDs, which are drugs, gambling, now spying. He's not on any of those categories.
Correct.
So if we're keeping him out, I mean, at some point, somebody's got to be like, whoa, what are we doing here?
Mine is Carlos Correa will sign a 10-year, $330 million contract to return to the Minnesota Twins.
10 years.
Yep.
$330 million.
That's $33 million a year. He's 28.
That is a very bold.
And he goes back to Minnesota. Not LA, not the Yankees. He's going to Minnesota.
$330 million.
Well, I didn't want to do. I figured I'd go higher than 320. I'll give him 33.
$323 million contract. All right, 10-year.
10-year, 330.
10-year, 330.
Back to the Twins.
And then I'm going to go Curt Schilling will get voted in as a Baseball Hall of Famer.
So there you go. There's our big one. I mean, there's other ones we talked about. We were spitballing earlier.
I like those. Big, bold predictions. Is there any, and you know what? Throw it to our own Twitter account. Throw us your big, bold predictions.
Yeah, at AthleticsCast24. We'll read the best ones on Monday if we get some good ones.
I'm excited. I am really, really excited. We'll be on at 1:00 from the Manchester Hyatt right there on the water, right next to Seaport Village. I believe they still call it Seaport Village.
Here, I'll put the full screen up so people can see it. There's all the information you need to know about us at the winter meetings. Coverage begins Monday at 1 all the way through Wednesday. We're going to be on multiple times Tuesday and Wednesday.
What are we on Tuesday and Wednesday? What are the times?
9 to noon, and then 2 to 4. So hopefully something happens in between there. We went over the guests earlier. There's plenty of big name guests that are going to be on with us. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of the people we haven't seen in years and meeting new people that we've never met before. That's obviously how you meet new people. So it'll be a great time. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, it will be a great time. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Paul Hembekides from ESPN and Jay Jaffe from Fangraphs. And the next time we talk to you, we'll be at the winter meetings and find out what are the A's doing, what are the rumors, and all the big signings. Nobody will cover the winter meetings like A's Cast Live.
The Coliseum has gone by many names, but none better than the Last Dive Bar. Hi, everyone. Ken Korak here, and my friends